So this video is about James Somerton, but it's kind of like not about him as well. And it's just this week, I've been thinking a lot about how we treat each other online and how we engage with each other online. And stuff like I'm guilty of myself. I've been feeling quite reflective because it's the first week in probably 12 years that I have not used Twitter. To a lot of people, like a week of Twitter probably doesn't even sound like anything, but my YouTube Twitter is now 7 years old. I've been using Twitter since 2011, and I'm pretty certain I can say I've used it every day since 2011. And especially of my YouTube Twitter, I've used it for like multiple things, but mainly obviously I've been building an audience there. And I'm going to make a whole video on this next week about my experience of quitting. But having detached myself from that platform, which I feel is so built on toxicity, conflict, and just like writing horrible shit to each other. I don't know what the word is, but it felt like a very relevant time with the new James Somerton drama in that he's like restarted his channel, rebranded it, and then there was like a massive scare about, you know, whether if he was still alive or not, which someone who knows him has confirmed that he is. And I was thinking, regardless of what happened in that situation, do we really have to wait for something like that to happen to reassess how we like talk to each other online? Now, what this video isn't is a defense of anyone like him and what he's done. But when I made a video about 2 months ago, I was talking about, does the punishment fit the crime? I was talking about like mob mentality. And I spoke about this guy who featured in Hbomberguy's video called Philip Mewson, a guy who used to work for IGN who was caught plagiarizing like other YouTubers' reviews. He came back, tried to make new videos again, and rightly people didn't care. They told him, you know, you can't have a YouTube presence really anymore and make it successful because you've broken the trust, that we can't trust anything you've ever put out is genuine. So Philip Mewson hasn't made a video in like 3 years, but then the Hbomberguy video comes out and people go to his Instagram, start writing horrible comments to him and saying like terrible stuff about his wife. And my point at the time with that example was like, when are we going to let this go? And even towards Hbomberguy's own video, I was like, it's so irrelevant and I think pretty irresponsible putting this guy in the video because of the power dynamic between you and that guy is so disproportionate. You know that people are going to like go to his page, regardless of if you want them to do it, which it's pretty clear someone like Hbomberguy didn't want them to do. Now with James Somerton, obviously, even more infamous than Philip Mewson, but we're seeing that in like real time in that he tried to make a comeback recently, tried to upload new videos, rebranded, and of course, people didn't like that at all. And especially that he'd put out 2 apology videos where, in my opinion as well, he's not actually sorry. He's pretty much sorry for himself that he doesn't have a YouTube career anymore. But in that, I still wanted to talk about the way we kind of engage with people like him. In that, why do we go out of our way to leave comments which we know will make someone feel bad? Like, why do we do that? Like, psychologically, why do we do that? And like I said, I've done that. I've done that in the past. I'm not going to pretend I've never done that. I've never wrote a mean comment to someone who I felt deserved it. And maybe, in my opinion, I could rationalize it more like, yeah, maybe this person does actually deserve it because, I don't know, they're a fascist. And that's lots of people who I often make videos on, like actual fascists. But then I have to ask myself, like, why do I leave these comments? And this is why I wanted to talk about this, because this is something that most of you watching this cannot relate to because you aren't in the spotlight at all. And I'm not saying I'm famous, but I'm also someone who has to read like thousands of comments every single month. Now, my YouTube channel just had its best month ever. I probably got the most engagement on Twitter I've ever got in a single month as well. And it's just not good for you. Even though like 90% of it is positive engagement, it's not good for your brain because you still have like hundreds and hundreds of terrible comments you read about yourself. And some of them just go so far. Some people really go out of their way to say really terrible stuff. And when you've been doing this as long as I have, although reading that eventually wears you down and does have an effect on your mental health, what it also makes you ask yourself is, why are people leaving these like really terrible comments? Like, what is going on in their own life that they feel the need, sometimes on their like personal Instagram profiles and stuff, where I can see like pictures of their families and kids and stuff. Why do they feel the need to go out of their way to leave me a really horrible comment based on some version, in their opinion, of justice. And although James Somerton does deserve backlash, no matter what politics you have, there is something going on with yourself which you need to think about if you go out of your way to do this. Now, to make a point about this and just use the James Somerton situation. So obviously, like I said, comes back, releases new content. Hbomberguy posted a tweet saying, at least he referenced his favourite true crime podcast, but at the same time, it's pretty much just a content mill. Now, personally, do I think that Hbomberguy needed to make a tweet about it? No, because I think what's going to happen is obvious. People take that as, oh my god, he's given me permission to go and write mean comments for this guy. Now, he posted a tweet on his Blue Sky, I just found this randomly, about Godzilla -1. But then he has comments from 3 months ago when he was originally exposed for the plagiarism, which I would say, has to be expected, although I wouldn't personally do this myself. When he came back, more people take to his random Blue Sky profile with 300 followers, writing stuff like this, and I'm going to cover the names. The new apology is cringe. You plagiarised and stole people's money because of an injury. Is that misogyny also a result from the injury, or that you denied a bi-author her sexuality? Why didn't you come clean? When the first accusation showed up, you were just sorry you got caught. Delete your account, you lying, two-faced, plagiarising scumbag. So I assume you stole this too. Your mother must be very proud. Get a job, James. Dude, nobody fucking wants you around anymore. Time to log off and join the workforce, bud. You're a soulless whelp of a con man, and your turtlenecks aren't doing you any favours either. So what I find interesting about that is people have purposely gone out of their way to dig up a post from 3 months ago on his most irrelevant social media platform, Blue Sky, just to tell them what they think of him. And why I find that interesting, again, is like, if you saw James Somerton in the street, would you go up to him and say, delete your account, you lying, two-faced, plagiarising scumbag? Would you do that? People don't actually act like that in real life. The same way when people leave me like absolutely terrible comments, talking about my appearance, insinuating some really horrible things based on the fact that I went on holiday to Southeast Asia with my girlfriend, and going into great detail about why I am something. I won't mention it, but yeah, I've got that comment a couple times from conservatives, which in my opinion is pure projection. But again, it's this like dehumanization with content creators in terms of like, when you hate us, you don't see us as people. And again, I'm not defending James Somerton, but I just have to ask myself, what reason do these people have 3 months after the fact to go find this post and write these comments? Like, what is going on in your own life? I think, to me personally, as someone who's both a content creator who gets these comments and doesn't usually make comments like this to people, it's to make yourself feel better. He's a punching bag for you. Like, you're feeling some sort of righteous justice right now where you can go to somebody else and really tell them what you think of them with absolutely like no filter. And you would speak to them in a way that you never would in real life, right? And that's the thing with like mob justice on the internet. And what I talked about in my original video is that what he did was really bad. He got exposed by a very big YouTuber, and not only is his YouTube career ruined, I think his life is pretty much ruined as well. Like, if he just wants any job, they type in his name and they see this. Is he getting the job? Absolutely not. Like, 100%. His life is pretty much ruined. And, he has done, like, other things. If people want to take legal action against him for ripping them off or some sort of stuff to do with money, then that's on them. But then you have to ask yourselves about everyone else who doesn't know him, doesn't care about his content before the video. Like, why are they doing this? In my mind, he's already faced the consequences, and him coming back and trying to make a go of it again is something I couldn't care less about. Do you know why? Because his career was so thoroughly destroyed, it doesn't matter how many times he posts. He's never coming back. Like, it doesn't matter. He could upload every single day for the next 10 years and he's not getting an audience because everyone is going to know him for what he did. So in that, I don't understand why anyone wants to go after this guy personally unless you want to treat him as a human punching bag. And I don't care about this guy. I don't think he's a good guy. I don't think he's sorry for anything he does. I personally don't care about anything to do with him. But again, I think he just reflects a wider problem. And especially another part of this as well is he's such an easy target. Because let's take another example. Obviously, what happened with Vosh recently. The whole internet are like dunking on him, right? Everyone across the political spectrum is dunking on this guy for being a creep. But one thing he had that James Somerton doesn't have, he had a massive audience of people who will defend him to the death. And that's the same thing that has happened with people like Internet Historian, who were in the Hbomberguy video. And, you know, some of the stuff Destiny has been tweeting recently, like absolutely terrible stuff, right? And you could argue a lot of YouTubers have done far worse stuff than James Somerton, but why don't we have that energy towards them? And that's another part of it. It's because he's an easy target. What pushback am I going to get? If I go to any of his socials right now or his YouTube channel, write something terrible, what's the likelihood that anyone's going to defend him? Like, slim to none. If I go do this to Logan Paul, if I go do this to Destiny, if I go do this to, I don't know, a whole host of other YouTubers who've been in very real scandals and said terrible things, what's the likelihood I'm going to get into a massive argument? Not only that, I'm probably going to get into a losing argument because so many people are going to be coming at me, disagreeing with me. So in people's head, they're like, I'm not going to do that. But if there's someone like James Somerton, who everyone hates, then to make myself feel better, I will go out of my way to post something terrible to him. And like I said, most people posting this have no idea what it's like to read something like that. And I guess that's where maybe I'm being too empathetic, is that I understand what it's like to read stuff like that, and I actually can't imagine mentally, regardless of what I've done, how you'd be feeling if the whole internet hated you. The whole internet hated you, and people were just saying whatever they wanted to you, and everyone was agreeing, and like literally no one would defend you. I cannot imagine what that feels like, and if he went through with what he posted on his Twitter, that would really not surprise me at all. Like, seriously, not surprise me at all, because mentally, I really can't imagine how bad that would feel. And that's my own empathy sometimes when I deal with making videos. I think it is a flaw as well as a good thing. I do have a bit too much empathy. A good example, I still think about this. I was playing Five-a-Side Football League. Some guy fouls me and pushes me, and then I take it a bit too far and I push him even harder and like get quite aggressive. And I felt bad after that, even though I didn't initiate it, because I felt bad at how I'd make someone feel because I was like physically like bigger and stuff. So it is a flaw of mine. I do get it. And I understand people might say in the comments, why do you have any empathy for this guy? He's done something terrible. At the same time, my point in my original video also played into this, is there is redemption and there is a way for him to move on, I feel like. But in our general society, I don't understand how we have such a willingness to let people like move on and live their lives with some people, but with some people they become the internet punching bag. I'm even thinking about people like the real life Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, and I'm thinking about all the terrible stuff he's done, which he wasn't really held accountable for, let's keep it real. And now he's just like famous again, and everyone loves him, right? So it's just an interesting thing in our society, and I guess it's also part of like what circles you swim in, because James Somerton made queer content for a leftist audience, then of course they're probably going to have higher standards than whoever thinks the Wolf of Wall Street is awesome. But still, my point about this is just the dehumanization and how we don't see people online as people, and we will just say anything to make ourselves feel better, because that's what these comments are. Especially if you're doing it now. If you've been doing this over the last week, like leaving terrible comments to him personally and everything, you don't care about justice for the people he's ripped off. You don't care about anything like that. You're saying it to make yourself feel better. You're saying it because you're taking your frustrations out on someone like that. And again, there's just bigger fish to fry. And also what comes into this as well is the parasocial relationship with Hbomberguy and whatever creator makes a video like exposing someone else. Because genuinely, I've been lurking the subreddit for the last like 3 months. And I gave them credit last time in my last video saying, I thought it was like quite good about how they handled it. I'm kind of taking that all back now, because they've been obsessing over this guy constantly ever since the video dropped. And it's because they're obsessed with Hbomberguy. I've seen people talk about watching this video like 5 times. 5 times for a 4-hour video? What are you doing with your life? And then you get posts like this. People complaining about the James Somerton hate on this sub are wrong. In light of recent events, I want to give my 2 cents. The man makes 1 video every year at this point. What are we supposed to do in the meantime? Letting the sub be a desert with someone posting a meme about Harris going bald every couple of weeks James Somerton is a core part of the last video he made, and an interesting one at that. So again, this is my point. What are we meant to talk about on the Hbomber subreddit? We must obsess over this guy forever, because Hbomberguy only releases one video a year, and because I like him so much, I have to keep talking about the subject of the video forever. Do you listen to yourself? How about go to another subreddit and talk about something else? Are you in prison in the Hbomberguy subreddit? But this goes on. It's cringe to obsess so much on a guy that did wrong. No, it's not. James did something horrible that shall never be forgotten nor forgiven. It's completely valid to keep talking about it and never let people or him forget what he did. If the discourse around the shit he did wasn't so prevalent, he would have just went back to square one and did everything the same. There are people out there who did way worse shit like what he mentions that just laid low for a while to make people forget and have an online career again. I don't think that is quite comparable. I really hope James doesn't do something stupid, because his life isn't over thanks to this, which seems to go in complete contrast to what you just said. It shall never be forgotten nor forgiven, but apparently his life isn't over. The same person who said that. He can just go into the normal world and find a normal job like everyone else. I disagree with that as well. But as much as I hope this, we didn't do anything. He did this to himself. It's not an oopsie that brought him down to his point. He made the same errors again and again. He continued plagiarizing after being called out. He used his fan base to attack people who were trying to expose him. He was a malicious asshole that tried his best to live life on easy mode and not get any repercussions. He had many, many chances to stop and be good, but he decided not to. He thought he was smarter than everyone else. Honestly, I think that he's just trying to get sympathy from others in a last Hail Mary to save what remains of his career. And I really hope I'm right, because it would be super scummy and one of the worst things a person can do, but at least he'd be alive and have the chance for redemption that everyone deserves. Of course, they're obsessed losers who live only to shit on other people because they have nothing in life to be proud of, besides not being a shitty person, but they are the minority. The cognitive dissonance in that post is just astounding. But again, it speaks to the parasocial relationship. This guy is talking about redemption. He's talking about James Somerton moving on with his life. At the same time, he's saying, we shall never forget what he's done. He shall never be forgiven. We should keep bringing this up forever, because what else are we going to talk about? And he's just done something that's completely unforgivable. But yeah, I think he should be able to move on with his life and seek redemption. Those things don't go hand in hand. And again, it's the parasocial element, isn't it? Because if this poster genuinely thinks people can be redeemed for whatever, from a left-wing point of view, a lot of people think this, then surely that would come through in the post. Unless you're so obsessed with your favourite content creator, you're thinking that oh yeah, I'm bored now. Let's just talk about James Somerton forever and let's keep reminding everyone what he did. No one is going to forget. No one is going to forget. This video was so insanely popular, everyone was talking about it. Philip Mewson, people are still harassing him. They didn't forget that. And most people don't even know what I'm talking about probably when I say that. But everyone is going to remember this forever. He used his real name on his YouTube channel. There is literally thousands of articles about this guy, probably millions of comments with his name in it. No one's ever going to forgive or forget him, because the internet doesn't do that. And it's going to be very hard for him to actually move on in any way, because that will be following him for the rest of his life. And again, with that, why do people now feel the need to keep harassing? Keep going out of their way to find his profiles and write horrible things to him? It doesn't matter if he tries to make a comeback. Seriously, are you so offended about that? Who cares? His life is ruined. No one's going to take him seriously. It doesn't personally affect any of us, what he does with his life now. Who cares? Seriously, there are so many bigger things to focus on, and like that post said, it just becomes content. Every content creator becomes completely dehumanized. The reason I want to talk about this is because it's just so reflective of a bigger issue, in that it doesn't matter what happens to you as a content creator, it will never be good enough. Whatever you've done wrong, you can never atone for it. Whatever you've done wrong, you must never be allowed to move on. Like Philip Mewson, going to his comment section and talking about his wife. Doesn't even post on YouTube anymore, but he's still guilty. And that is just mob justice on the internet. When it's YouTube plagiarism and your fave content creator has made a video exposing it, somehow it's the worst crime that's ever been committed on YouTube ever. And it must never be forgotten nor forgiven. We must never move on from reminding this guy what he did. And it's just so disproportionate, because this mob is all about making each other feel good. It's literally all it is. And tying this all back finally to my Twitter point, why I was thinking about this with Twitter is, and why Twitter is especially toxic, is it's this culture I'm talking about in a microcosm. It's so easy, especially now with Elon Musk and the verification system, it's so easy to create a mob on Twitter because the quote tweet system. It's so easy to quote tweet to your own little safe space of Twitter, get all these people riled up where they will go to the original comment, start hating on this random person, and it's just a cycle that continues forever. Like I said, I had a lot of engagement on Twitter over the last month, and even like viral tweets where most people were agreeing with me. Like I made a one about this policeman and Aaron Bushnell, and it got like 42k likes or something. I'm still getting loads of quote tweets from conservatives who then flood my comments with the verification system to give me hate and stuff, right? And they mobilize because being in a mob feels good, and telling someone you disagree with on Twitter that they're a terrible person, that feels good. And again, when you leave a really nasty comment, which is clearly projecting some issues, that makes you feel better about your own life. But mostly on Twitter, we're divided. It's left versus right. It's liberal versus leftist. It's conservative versus leftist, right? So there's a battle going on in the comments where you're fighting amongst yourselves and you feel like you have your side fighting back. You're defending people from each other. But with someone like James Somerton, it's a perfect storm of, here is the internet punching bag. Here is a guy we can all agree is terrible, and no one will defend him. Absolutely no one will defend him. What he's done is so unforgivable. Therefore, obsess over him for like 4 months, and if he even makes a slight comeback, make sure you remind him how much of a terrible person he is, and just go to his comment section and start writing loads of terrible shit if you want. It's a free shot. You're never going to have to think about what you said, because no one will call you out for it. And then that's why it's so funny when people think he might have done something drastic, they act like they care. Oh my God, James, please don't do this. Oh my God, James, you don't have to do this. These are probably the same people who've been writing these comments, not realizing that for any content creator, getting comments like that is hard mentally, no matter what you've done. Thinking loads of people hate you, loads of people telling you they hate you, online, where they have no accountability, where you can't really respond, yeah, that hurts. Doesn't matter what you've done. So for me personally, it doesn't matter what happens with James Somerton in the end. I just want people to reassess how they engage with people online as well. And if that mean comment, and like terrible comment sometimes, is it necessary for this person to see it? Sometimes it might be. I get it. Sometimes people might be genuinely terrible, or they might be spiraling. They might be spiraling. I remember when Anna Kasparian was saying all this stuff about trans people, trans sports, and people in very good faith were replying to her, and most of the comments were negative, saying, you know, you're better than this. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you saying this? And although she might have felt like, oh my God, I'm being attacked by all these people I used to think were my friends, I can understand why people feel the need, because sometimes people need to see why they're so wrong. But again, something like James Somerton is so different because it isn't people telling him why he's so wrong. It's mainly people calling him like bad names to make themselves feel better. And sure, might there be some constructive comments? Yeah, I guess so. But most of them are jokes at his expense and trying to make him feel terrible. At the same time, people then going to pretend they care about his mental health. Like, you definitely don't. Again, this isn't a defense of him at all. He did something really bad. He should have been called out. It's not on Hbomberguy at all, whatever happened or whatever happens, because you can't just live your life thinking, well, if I call someone out for terrible behaviour, I've got to worry about what will happen next. So yeah, I'm not even saying he shouldn't have made that video. I am saying to people in his audience, this is not something he can control. You've just got to stop. Like, seriously, and this goes for like many different things. If you're still obsessing over something like this after 4 months, you need to get a hobby. Seriously, you need to find something else to do with your time, something constructive. And also I would say, not that James Somerton would ever watch this, it's done. Just stop. Stop posting. For your own mental health, stop posting. Don't come back. Don't come back because people will never forgive you. People are never going to accept you. You can't be a YouTuber. You just can't. There are lots of things you can do online. Maybe you could make like another YouTube channel where you're just involved and you're not the face of it. But if you want to be the face of it, I'm sorry. It's going to be terrible for your mental health. YouTube is terrible for your mental health already. Being prominent on social media is already bad for you. Being the internet's punching bag and trying to post through it is just not going to work. So please, if you care about yourself and you care about your life and you don't have good mental health, stay away. Like, seriously, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you say. As much as we all want to live in a world where people can move on, find redemption, and maybe, you know, even do something bad on YouTube like plagiarism, make a whole career of stealing, and then come back and maybe make good videos, right? We just don't really live in that world. They don't forgive Philip Newson after 5 years. James Somerton, they're not going to forgive you after 10, most of the internet. And that's just the way it is. So stay off it. Stay away. And I'm saying that as someone who finds YouTube hard mentally anyway. And like, most of my videos get like 95% likes. Like nearly every single one is very positively received. Most comments I get on social media are very nice. I get people giving me compliments all the time, messaging me nice things every single day. And it's still bad because I get 10%, which is shit. If I got 100%, which is shit, I would probably never post again, because why would I? It would just be terrible for me reading comments about why I'm like the devil. So yeah, stop. Just the video I wanted to make. I can already anticipate like a lot of backlash. I honestly don't really care, to be honest. If that's not clear, I've never really cared about like saying the popular thing with my YouTube videos. And if people want to take this as a defense of James Somerton, that's on you. I personally think he's a shitty guy who's unapologetic and stole lots of stuff. But I also personally think he's not worth your time on one level. And if you're still going after him now, it's more a reflection of you. So be a better person and don't do this, especially if you're a left-wing person, like that post I read you, which actually says they believe in redemption, but also believes in like harassing someone forever. Like, come on. Anyway, that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.